And thanks for choosing love. The time is 7:30. Up next, Belize Watch.
Celebration time.
Christopher and Selene Nesbitt operate the Maya Mountain Research Farm in San Pedro, Colombia in the Toledo district. In 2024, our Belize Watch team traveled along the Columbia River to visit the Nesbitts to learn more about them and the farm that focuses on food security and biodiversity in agriculture and ecology. We will have that for you after this break to hear from our partners, Seafront Inn, Del Martin, National Institute of Culture and History, and the Barry.
Seafront Inn welcomes you to Punta Gorda, overlooking the beautiful Caribbean Sea. Seafront Inn offers visitors a relaxing blend of comfort and local charm. Our rooms are spacious and fully air-conditioned, with several amenities including refrigerator, microwave, TV, and more. Clive's Restaurant is located on the 3rd floor and offers a wide variety of delicious food. We can also host your special events. So when you need to get away for business or pleasure, enjoy the atmosphere at Seafront Inn, offering the best of Southern hospitality.
Belize's food heritage is more than what's on our plates. It's the stories, skills, and traditions passed down through generations. But today, those traditions are at risk. That's why the Belize Food Heritage Project is training over 150 community participants, documenting 80 traditional foodways, and sharing the rich flavors of our culture. Join us in celebrating Belize's living heritage, one recipe, one story, one community at a time. Supported by Niche and the UNESCO ICH Fund.
Debari is your one-stop store of choice. We have an array of electronics and accessories to keep you connected. Your home will be the envy of your friends when you choose from a wide variety of household appliances. We can help you dress the entire family in style and comfort with our selection of clothing and footwear. Visit our store in Albert Street in Belize City, San Pedro, La Isla Bonita, Park Street in Orange Walk Town, Belmopan, and San Ignacio, Santa Elena. Debari, get more, pay less.
Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel they come from. You da you and me da me. But guess what? All are we the one. See what I mean? Jump and shout all over the nation.
I'm at the home of Chris and Selene Nesbitt, and what a journey it was to get here. We came up the Columbia branch of the Rio Grande, and coming up the Columbia River with the current, came against the current, was not really easy in my mind. And then we had some sprinkling rain. But I'll tell you what, it's worth it, because we really live in the most beautiful country in the world. And it's when you make trips like these, you realize how beautiful Belize really is. And so I am happy that I got the opportunity to come up or go up the Columbia River against the current to see exactly how it works, even though I've done it before, but this was some years ago. And to really have this wonderful experience of coming here and to see Chris and Selene. Once again, it's good to say hi and thank you for receiving us so well. You make us feel at home, and we want to thank you so much for doing that. We even got to know the dogs and everything, so, so everything up here seems so friendly, nice and tranquil. What a beautiful spot of Belize you live in. But, our show this particular show and the arrangements is done by none other than the person who represents us in the Toledo district. And you can see the dog cuddling up to him right away, like if the dog knows that I'm going to pass the microphone to him, Chris. You know. So before we get into our discussion, I would like to ask Paul Mahong, who is always with us in Punta Gorda and takes good care of us for the past 50 years. You know, I've known Paul for the past 50 years, Chris. Yeah, you know. So we have been good friends for 50 years. And so, Paul.
Thank you very much, Chief. And it has been a very fruitful day so far, especially the experience on the Colombia branch of the Rio Grande. Yeah, like you said earlier, we were blessed with a bit of rain, a bit of light, sunlight, but it was lovely coming up. We read some very shallow areas and deeper areas, but words are hard to describe the luscious tropical rainforest, the vegetation on both sides of the Colombia branch of the Rio Grande as we came up. I guess we'll probably meet that very professional, competent captain of that little canoe. It's a canoe that brought 6 people. The Love Crew 4 team, that's Miss Ava, Paul Munnings, yourself, myself. The captain of that ship, Mr. Jorge Koch, and his 3-year-old grandson, who sat comfortably in that canoe. Yeah, he was apparently. And so that speaks a lot of the knowledge of the local area and how good these folks are in their area. And then we asked, when will we reach? He said, we'll soon reach right around the curve. And we kept counting the curves. But after like an hour on the river, we finally came to this lovely home of Chris and Selene. And we were welcome with that hot cup of chocolate. The organic chocolate drink. And I cannot say more for now because we'll be hearing, Chief, so I'll take it back to you.
Okay. Chris and Selene, again, thank you so much for welcoming us here.
Thank you for
So let's get to know who are Chris and Selene, right? Who wants to go first? You want Selene go before you?
Go for, she's prettier than I am.
Oh, yeah? I agree.
Yeah, I'm glad you agree.
I am Selene Logan, married Nisbet. I've been here 14 going to 15 years. And initially I was a city girl. I went to Palote High School, studied pharmacy at UB, and then I had the fortunate opportunity of meeting Christopher on an island when he was a fixer for a French film crew.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. He tells a prettier story because he's a frillier, he's very verbose, and he's yes, indeed, he's a romantic one. Which works good for me. But anyway, so I met him during my time working at Long Key. At the time, I was working with friends as a coordinator, helping them run a lodge. Yes, so I had the fortunate opportunity of meeting him, and then he brought me to Paradise.
And you never got back.
At the beginning, I didn't think it was Paradise because I'm a city girl.
Yes.
And Christopher he is a vegetarian.
Yeah.
So I had to break out of that love for meat. You know, but I have to say I have adjusted really well, and now I wouldn't give it up for anything.
Yeah.
And I encourage others to come visit, and I don't necessarily encourage others to give up their diet of meat, but I talk about the positive effects of not being a big meat consumer, you know, and of eating a lot of what you grow yourself, and of the fulfillment and the joy that comes out of planting your own food and being a part of the producing group instead of just the consuming group, you know. And yes, I live in paradise. I'm in heaven, and every morning I get up and I listen to the birds, I listen to the wind, I listen to the drops of rain falling on the roof, and this is what tourists come to my country pay big money for, and I'm fortunate to have this every single day of my life, and the river also, which is lovely.
Yeah,
and
great experience.
yes, wouldn't give it up for anything.
That's right. All right, Chris. Now I've heard her story of how you met, and she says you put it in a more romantic way. So let's get to know Chris Nesbitt.
Okay, well, long story, very short. My name is Christopher Nesbitt. I was born in New York City. I attended Antioch College in Yellow Springs, Ohio. which is about 10 miles from Springfield, Ohio, where Donald Trump told a lie that Haitians were eating dogs. So claim to fame. I came down to Belize on a study abroad quarter. I did a self-designed quarter to map out the languages of Belize, and I came to Belize, and after the first 3 months, I decided I would extend it to 6 months, and then I took what would now be called a gap year, except for now it would be more like a gap 38 years. And so that was in 1985. I ended up caretaking the late Leela Vernon's farm. She was very kind to me when I was young. Her family was very, very, very kind, good people. And I was taking care of her land. I visited a Bali who lived on the river down from here for just to come visit the man. And then I saw Henry Genus passing by, and I said, "Oh, Henry, I hear you have a piece of land to sell." He said yes, and so the next day I kind of cut through the bush and ended up here. And he didn't want a lot of money for it, which is good because I didn't have a lot of money. And I bought it, and then about 2 days later I woke up and had a, what have I done? And I had this like I've totally bit off more than I can chew. I'm from New York City. I don't know anything about farming. And I had visions of miles and miles and miles to get back to New York City and eat pizza by the slice. But I had already gone back to New York City a couple times, and every time I tried to look for a cheap apartment, there were Belizeans living in it. So I figured, well, I'm going to be on the exchange program, and that's more or less in a condensed version how I ended up here.
But that was how many years ago, remind me?
That was 1985. I came into Belize. In 1988, I ended up on this farm.
Wow. So you're talking now about 24 plus 12?
Almost 30.
More than 35 years. So you're more Belizean than New York?
Yeah, well, I go back to New York, and it's a nice place, but I'd prefer to live here. I think Belize Belize is a wonderful country, filled with good people. It's beautiful, and a good quality of life, and people care about one another. I love Belize.
Haven't you met?
Oh yes.
Remember, don't forget.
Well, that was sort of longer in the story. Yes, so I got hired by a French film crew to be a how do they call it, a fixer, and then we were supposed to go out to Long Key, and we were staying at the Great House, and I woke up and I looked out at the harbor, and the harbor was full of white caps, and I was, guys, we're going to get beat up all the way to the reef. Once we pass the reef, we're going to die. I strongly recommend. I work in marine protected areas doing photovoltaic systems. Do a lot of work out at Turnip Atoll for Turnip Atoll Sustainability Association. Very nice people. And so I told them, I said, you hire me for expert advice. I am telling you, don't go out to sea today. And then we went and looked at the boat. The boat was a 35-foot skiff, and it was already loaded with building material. And I'm like, guys, strong advice. If you go, I'm going because that's what you hire me for, but I'm giving you hire me for expert advice. Don't go today. We didn't go today. The Frenchmen were very pissed. Oh, Christopher, he doesn't let us do it. I'm like, no, man, guys, trust me. Next day, new boat came. We got a bigger boat. And while we're going out there, a guy leans over to me and says, oh, you said not to go yesterday. I'm glad you didn't. I said, why? What happened? He said, the boat sank. I'm like, no way, you're kidding.
You're kidding. The boat,
and he said,
that you were to go on actually sank.
Yeah, and so then I turned over to the French guys and I said, hey, guess what happened to the boat yesterday? And they're still pissed off because we messed up their schedule. And they're like, what happened? Christopher are very pissed off French people. And I said, the boat sank. And they're like, no way, you're kidding. I said, no, I am not kidding. The boat sank. They lost everything. And then I went from being the guy that screwed up the day and delayed the program to being the hero, the lifesaver. And so I'm feeling good because I've had one full day of them low-level anger at me for screwing up their schedule, to now I am the champion hero riding on this wave of, and when I step off, we reach Long Key. I live in the bush. I'm a bush guy. I like trees. I'm a subumbra Floreo Belizean. I like trees. I don't really like sea, but I appreciate it. I go to sea to work, and I get to this long, yellow, freshly painted pier with this little thatch house on it, a little thatch hut with some hammocks, and long tapering yellow pier going off to white sandy beach and coconut, and here comes this pretty gal walking up the thing. At that time I'm single, and so I said to myself, man, why can't I find a gal like that? So That night, we ended up at the same table. She starts talking about garbage gyres and ocean currents depositing various garbages because she was working with different universities. And she's not only is she good looking, she's smart too. So I'm like, and then we talk, and then we're talking, and then the French guys don't need me for like 3 days while we're out there because they're doing their stuff, and they don't need me. They're going out in a skiff, they're going in a little go-kart or a golf cart, and so I get to hang out all day with Selene, and we went sea kayaking, we went looking for seashells, and so when the contract ended, and she's saying, yeah, I'm going to come visit you. I'm thinking, yeah, sure, we'll see, maybe. When the contract ended, I drove her to her apartment. I picked her up. I drove her to the farm. She stayed for a week. Then she went back. 4 days later, I went back to the farm, called her.
You're talking this farm here?
Yes, this farm. I came back all the way to the farm from Belize City. I talking to her on the phone every day. Hi, how you doing? You know, I was like totally head over heels in love. And then she called me back about 4 days after I dropped her off and said, you still want me to come live with you? I said, duh, what do you think? And she said, good, I just quit my job. How soon can you be here? And I will let you know, between the dory ride and driving through Belmopan in a Toyota Hilux that has the turbo, you can get to Belize City in exactly 4 hours. And I don't think that I don't think all four wheels were touching the ground at all times the whole way. I basically flew all the way to Belize City, and that was in 2010. And since then, you know, so that's kind of abbreviated version.
That's a really well.
Yeah.
So you said she moved out to the farm, and is that what made you exactly? You know?
I think I was at a point in my life that I wanted something different, other than the city life and all the fun in the island and the bikini beach, the bikini wearing two pieces.
I didn't
and
mind the
you know
bikini wearing. That was fun with me.
the bonfires and all the parties. I go like, okay, I'm getting at a point in my life where this can really do. And he painted a really good picture, you know, a picture of health and green and all that. And I was like, I'm ready for this transition in my life.
Okay.
So it was a perfect timing.
So
Yeah.
that's good.
Yes.
Plus, I got charming ways, obviously.
Yeah.
You forgot to mention the charming ways, honey.
But you know, a question that comes to mind would be, New York is a concrete jungle.
Yes.
Now, how hard was it to adapt and to move away from this concrete jungle to a real luscious jungle, green jungle?
It wasn't honestly that hard because I had about 3 years living in the country before I ended up here. And so I caretook Leela Vernon's farm. I used to go sell Guatemalan bangles and dread belts. Yes, and I used to sell dread belts and bangles on Albert Street in 86, 87, 88. And then I bought the farm and I moved here, and I would still go to Belize City, you know, a couple times a month or maybe every 2 months to go sell Guatemalan bangles. I buy stuff in Guatemala, sell it there. So I was used to that. It wasn't hard. And when I moved here at the time, this was everything you see was citrus and cattle. The cattle was damaging the land, and the citrus itself was at the end of its productive lifespan. But when I bought it, I had no idea. So I got an orange farm, and then all of a sudden I'm noticing that the orange trees are dying. And then the citrus price went from $12 Belize a box to $2 Belize a box. It didn't even, by the time you put it on the truck, you didn't get paid anything. Yeah, so I started to think about come up with what is now called a multi-strata agroforestry system. How do we create agricultural models that are productive and replicate ecosystem functions of primary habitat? So we're looking at, on the farm we have timber trees, and we have nitrogen-fixing trees, we have fruit trees, we have tropical staple trees. Underneath that we have things like subcanopy species like cacao, coffee, vanilla, cardamom, ginger, yellow ginger, all thriving under that environment. And what we're doing while we're getting all these yields out of it, once you get it established, you basically create the equivalent of a biological flywheel. It just takes very little to maintain, and it's just cranking out production. And that's the point that we're in now. And the lucky thing for Selene, when she came, the flywheel is fully in effect. But it took many years to get it established.
Okay.
So.
So Selene, when you came to the farm, and you said you came twice, I think, and then you were wondering, is this for me, and what are you? What made you change? I know beside love, right?
Yeah.
What
My
made
charming ways, too.
And his charming ways,
Thank you.
right? You know, what other feeling or what other occurrence made up led to you seal the deal? Yeah, that okay, yes, I could stay here, I could live here.
There's a little history that helped me seal the deal. And when I was little, my parents lived in Orange Rock, and they were also farmers.
Okay.
And we used to cook our food at firewood like we still do now.
You do that?
So yes, we still do now. And we lived in something similar to this, but smaller. And we used to grow our own chicken, have our own local eggs. And my dad had a little cow and all that. So we used to have milk and all that. So it gave me back this feeling, this homely feeling of I'm back home. And it was a feeling that I wasn't, that I didn't had. It was disconnected because I was living in the city, but I connected back when I came here. So there was this reconnection that made me have that feeling with my childhood, and I go like, yeah, this is home. I can make this home. Yes, which he didn't know. Because I didn't mention, I didn't mention that to him until afterwards. Yes.
All I knew was she was managing this resort and selling real estate, and that she'd been a pharmacist, and she was good looking and super smart.
And that's all you wanted to know at that time.
Yeah. Well, all this was revealed later.
So there was that reconnection, you know, and then it all just fit into all the gaps that were missing, the open gaps.
Chief, I don't want to put Chris and Selene on the spot, but maybe their kids, maybe their lovely children are listening or viewing the program, and I don't want them feel we left them out. No. I know they both have a son who is a military officer in the Belize Defense Force. Chris, talk about the children and the family.
Okay, so I have two daughters, Esperanza and Zephyr. Zephyr's here now working on this book. We're working on a book on climate change mitigation and adaptation. It's a manual for farmers and degraded land repair. The other daughter, Esperanza, is living in the United States right now working, but she should be back in January. When I got married, Selene had a Wilfredo, her son, my stepson, and Janine, and they've been wonderful to me. And Wilfredo ended up in the Belize Defense Force and actually was in London. I had to go to London because the farm won an award, and I got over there and I met Prince Harry, and that was nice. And and then while we were talking, while I was giving my thank you speech on the stage, I mentioned I'd like to thank everybody, especially my stepson Wilfredo, who is an officer cadet from the Belize Defense Force, presently at the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst. And apparently Prince Harry went, because he went there as well. Okay. So when he was going around from prearranged thing to prearranged thing, talking to people, and when he passed us, I waved and like that, and he said, he told his entourage, he was leaving, everybody was going. He said, hold on, I got to go talk to these people. So he came over and I said, Wilfredo, Prince Harry, I'd like to introduce you to my stepson, Wilfredo, of the Belize Defense Force officer candidate at Royal Military Academy. Wilfredo, I'd like to introduce you to my dear old friend, Prince Harry, who I met like 45 minutes ago. And he chuckled. And he chuckled, and then we talked, and they talked military stuff, and Prince Harry was, what do you think about Operation Long Reach? Was 72 hours, 72 miles in the snow with a 72-pound backpack. And Wilfredo was like, that wasn't hard. And what about this? He said, no, and Wilfredo said, no, you don't get it. We were at forward operation bases and deep in the Cheeky Bowl. We've got to carry in supplies for 2-3 weeks. So that's not hard for me. My problem is lack of sleep. And then he said, oh, yeah, lack of sleep. And then they talked a little more. Then we talked a little bit about trees. And then he said, oh, well, I've got to take my leave. And then he left. We said, well, thank you very much, which I truly appreciate. Thank you for taking the time to come and talk to us. And before this, by the way, I was talking with Mrs. Perdomo, who was the
Perla Perdomo.
yes, Perla Perdomo, the honorable, she was the
Ambassador,
yeah,
indeed.
and
Commissioner.
High Commissioner. And I asked her, can you introduce Wilfredo? And she said, well, you know, and I think so sick of protocol. And I'm like, man, you and your protocol, I won the award. So when he came over, and then he leaves, Wilfredo turns to me, he said, man, somebody should have got our picture so I can show my mom. And I said, man, yeah, I'd love to send it to my wife. Here we are hanging out with Prince Harry. And here comes Mrs. Oh, I take a protocol count. You know, here comes Mrs. Perdomo with her camera, her phone, and she said, I got your picture. The footage, by the time I got back to the hotel room, it was all over breaking news Belize, and everybody saw Wilfredo Magana and Christopher Nesbitt talking to Prince Harry, and I had my 15 minutes of fame, you know, and I was nice. And, yeah, but it was a big honor to win the award. The other award winners were absolutely amazing people doing amazing things in all across the Commonwealth. And I remember sitting in the room with all of them and thinking, like, there has been a wonderful mistake made, because I am sitting in the room with absolute saints. These people are amazing. Yeah. And I told them that, and they're like, no, we think the same thing. All of us, like, I think when you do something, win an award like that, I was floored. I didn't expect it. And the people that I won the award with were all outstanding people doing amazing things.
What was going through your mind, Celine?
Well, when it went viral, I was very pleased, because I have to say that Christopher was a positive role model to my son. He was, at the time when I met him, he was a teenager, and he was in that phase where, you know, they think they know everything. And he happened to come here, and he saw a different way of life. And actually, he trained here to become an officer, because he joined the volunteers first, and then he decided he could be an officer. Christopher spoke to him about it, and then he started training on the trails here, which were intense, so he was super prepared physically.
I could see that.
Up in these hills and in the rain, because he used to run to and from the camp. Crazy, but he used to.
That's a good distance.
That's mad, yes. So he was very, very prepared physically and mentally, because Christopher introduced him to a lot of really good books, because Christopher's an avid reader, so he was really a positive model. So when all this happened, I was happy that they were together when this was happening. Yeah. And I must mention also, I also have a daughter. She lives in Janine. She lives in Forest Home Village. She does hair and nails in town. Yeah, and then I have 5 grandchildren.
Okay.
Now.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm rich. And now he doesn't have biological grandchildren, but all my grandchildren call him Grumpy.
And
so he's Grumpy now.
Number one favorite human being in the world is Mia Sutherland, who's my first granddaughter.
Okay.
So yeah.
But it's good. I always like the power of families staying together and working together.
The Nisbet shared how the historic forest fires impacted their farm. We step aside to hear from our partners, Seafront Inn, Del Martin, National Institute of Culture and History, and the Barry.
Seafront Inn welcomes you to Punta Gorda, overlooking the beautiful Caribbean Sea. Seafront Inn offers visitors a relaxing blend of comfort and local charm. Our rooms are spacious and fully air-conditioned, with several amenities including refrigerator, microwave, TV, and more. Clive's Restaurant is located on the 3rd floor and offers a wide variety of delicious food. We can also host your special events. So when you need to get away for business or pleasure, enjoy the atmosphere at Seafront Inn, offering the best of Southern hospitality.
Are you up for an adventure? Want to go explore the world of the ancient Maya? Let's visit one of the archaeological sites. Don't have any cash? Well, guess what? The Institute of Archaeology niche has made payment options more convenient. We are now accepting DigiWallet payments at 13 of our archaeological reserves. Here's how to do it. Select the bill pay option within the DigiWallet app. Then select government entities. Click on niche and enter the site name, fee type, cost of ticket, and click Pay Bill. After a successful transaction, show your digital receipt to the ticketing clerk and this process is complete. And don't worry, Digi now has cellular service on a number of our sites. Yes, it's that easy. Download and register for DigiWallet from your Google Play Store or Apple App Store today. Pay your park fees with ease and enjoy an unforgettable experience at these incredible archaeological preserves. This message was brought to you by the Institute of Archaeology, Niche, preserving the past for the future.
Debari is your one-stop store of choice. We have an array of electronics and accessories to keep you connected. Your home will be the envy of your friends when you choose from a wide variety of household appliances. We can help you dress the entire family in style and comfort with our selection of clothing and footwear. Visit our store on Albert Street in Belize City, San Pedro, La Isla Bonita, Park Street in Orange Walk Town, Belmopan, and San Ignacio, Santa Elena. Debari, get more, pay less.
Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewelry come from. You da you and me da me. But guess what? All are we the one. See what I mean? Jump and shout all over the nation.
Let's look at what we have here, where we are seated. What do you have here?
Wow.
And it's a lot, I could tell, because just coming up from the river, I had to rest 2 times coming up that hill. You do that hill every day, Chris?
Yeah, basically.
And initially when I used to do it, I puff and blow, but now it's like a piece of cake.
So it would be good exercise for me to go up and down that hill.
Yes, man. I think what you need to do is stop do video and radio stuff for a while, spend about 6 months with us, and then go join the BDF and then go to Sandhurst. That's our plan for you.
I have to laugh at that one, Chris, because that's in which life? Maybe the next one. Yeah, but look at the farm. You know what you said you're a complete vegetarian. You don't raise any cattle. You don't raise any chickens or anything.
No, I see the place for meat in the diet. I just don't. I eat meat, but I just only eat meat I raise. So we raise sheep, we raise ducks, we raise chickens, we raise rabbits, and of those, the sheep are the most work, and the chickens are the most rewarding. I enjoy the chickens the most because I like eggs. But our main focus is on agroforestry, again, because it's a good way if you find marginal land, because this was marginal land when I bought it. I was just too stupid to know better. And for marginal land, the best thing you can do with it often is tree crops, because tree crops can tolerate poor soil and they help build fertility. So that's what we did. And we did this sort of biological Aikido of working with the process of succession between degraded landscape to full-on stack polyculture with 400-something species of plants. Again, the canopy species, timber, and leguminous tree species that fix nitrogen, and food trees, tropical staple trees, we're big proponents of that, things like breadfruit, breadnut, jackfruit, peach palm, coconut. Avocado is technically a
we also have several systems here, like our water system that we get water using solar panel and a pump, a solar pump from a spring that fills our cistern up and it's gravity fed down. And we also have the sheep system, which is we have rotating paddocks that we put them at for a certain time, and then we move them to the other side. So they're never in one paddocks where they drain all the food. And then we have also the compost system, where we stool in the toilet and then we cover it with wood chips. So do you want to expand a little bit more on the other system, like the biogas system and the compost?
So we also, with the composting toilet is over there. If you happen to be here, we invite you to leave a deposit for donation for the future. And it's a simple ferro cement design. We modified a design from Vietnam to suit our needs. And we have built that now in, I think, 6 different villages. Small scale for houses and churches.
Okay.
Then we also have a biogas plant where we take it's primarily food waste. And it's so we use old banana peels and spoiled pear and whatnot, and we grind it up in the blender and pour it in there, and it gives us methane. I cook my coffee with that every morning. And then we had a vanilla system. This is one of the things that Selene really ran with. We trained people in vanilla production, so Selene had a big garden of vanilla in what was Inga Alley cropping. We introduced Inga Alley cropping to Belize in 2011, and by about 2017 or so, we weren't really interested in doing that anymore because we had plenty of land, and we weren't under the pressure where Inga Alley cropping makes most sense. So we converted that into Selene's vanilla garden. Unfortunately, that was burned in the fire in May. But we still have vanilla around the farm. We have big stands of it here and there. But the big vanilla, the one that was our retirement plan, that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So.
You talk about burnt in the fire. I mean, you have suffered from forest fires in the area?
Yeah, in 2008 we got hit by what turned out to be a minor fire, major for us. Back it up a little. So in the 1990s and early 2000s, I managed the Toledo Cacao Growers Association. Every year we would have 1 or 2 fires damage a farm. Some years no farm would get damaged. Most years 1 or 2 farms would get damaged. May of this year, over 400 farms in Toledo were destroyed by fire. So Cyrillachi, who was one of the people who helped us the most with the fire, and was going to make you the chicken caldo, she couldn't make it because of health issues and in her house.
I'm familiar with Cyrilla. Tell her hi.
Well, yeah, she's great, and we wish she was here. She was instrumental in helping to fight the fire. So she helped us, and then she was helping people in San Miguel. We were helping people in San Miguel and Silver Creek, and we were running supplies to the front line. She was actually on the front line. I was on the front line across the river for 2 fires across the river. But I'm 58, and I totally feel in my 58. So what I did instead is started hauling in 6 or 7 gallons of water at a time, and drop it for other people to put it in their backpack sprayers and go attack the fire, and I'd go retrieve. That was what I was doing. So it was
intense.
Yeah, so it was intense. But the difference between what happened back in the 1990s and the early 2000s was we never had a period of 4 or 5 months without rain. There was literally not a drop of rain for almost 5 months.
Yeah, it was not.
So when the fires did escape, they did considerable damage. 400 farms were destroyed. And the farms that get destroyed, people we know, Cyrilla's father lost his cacao, other friends of ours lost all their coconuts. And so the shame is that these are long-term crops that you start establishing them. It could take 5 years before you get your first harvest. And so for that's a huge loss. And the shame of it is all of this was very predictable. Anybody with systems literacy could have looked at the landscape and said, in fact, we make biochar, which is pyrolyzed biomass, to make a charcoal, which is a soil additive and creates habitat for soil biota and boosts fertility. We made a decision not to burn because even though we're pretty sure that we could control it, there's that 1% chance we couldn't and the catastrophic results, so we made a conscious decision not to. So people who are lighting fires before the first rains, they made bad decisions, and they made decisions because either they were unaware of the risk or they didn't care. And that's one of the things that's changed from back in the day. Back in the day, that couldn't have happened because there was more, communities were more cohesive and worked together and kind of minded each other's business a little more than they do now. So,
So what action do you take when there's a forest fire in your neighborhood? I mean, I guess the first thing you think is how to contain it, right? And then eventually extinguish it. But what's the procedure you go through?
So the fire that hit here burned for weeks before it got here, and it started on the farmers' road for weeks, coming for weeks to get to us.
Wow.
And burned through multiple farms on the way. And so we knew about that fire, and so we ran supplies up to help the people at the butterfly farm to try and save the butterfly farm, which I think it saved, but all their butterflies died because of the quality of the air was so low.
Yeah.
And then, so we did that. Then we tried to help Dana next door, and that was a little closer. And then across the river, other set of fires. We helped our neighbor Ignacio Ash, and then we helped the Powell family farm, which the Powell family farm is an interesting farm because it has the oldest stand of cacao in Belize, established when the Powell family migrated into this watershed around 1905 or so. And it was like, I don't want that to get lost. But one of the great things is like people in Toledo and people in Belize, but in Toledo still, come together against adversity. And so when I went to help the Powell family, people were helping. When I helped Nansa, a few people helping. When we got hit by the fire, we had 50 people show up to help us, and including two sticks of guys from Belize Defense Force and people from Tide. Mario Muschamp, if you're hearing this, you are a hero. You will always be a hero. Yeah, Mario is an absolute saint of a human. And I work with him doing solar.
Yeah.
So I know Mario very well, and we were freaking out about the fire, and we got Stephanie Supal sent me an email or a message on WhatsApp saying, oh, by the way, just to let you know, we're sending Mario to help you with the fire. Because I put a thing out on social media, on Facebook, saying, anybody who benefited from us, who could receive training here or, donated food, we've donated food for the last 20 years to something called Helping Older People Equally in PG every week. Anybody who we could use help now. And the response was very high. And Forest Home Center crew, somebody from San Miguel sent some people from San Miguel. Other people came, and the BDF sent two groups of BDF to help us. And if any two of those people had not been here, it would have been catastrophic. We would have lost the core of the farm. So we lost areas that were less than 11 years old, which was a loss. But the core of the farm is over 30 years old. And if we had lost that would have been a real tragedy. I mean, that's a tragedy. We lost that.
There would be the threat to your home as well.
Yes. I mean, the flames, there was one point that the BDF were worried that the flame was going to come. But I said, okay, between here and where the fire could go, there's no fuel. So there could be a big flame there, but they made fire pass and there's nothing underneath there. And what we found is Wamiel, secondary growth of forest, burns well, particularly if it's fire degraded. And this was we were hit by a fire in 2008, so I was susceptible. But agroforestry that's mature doesn't burn. Doesn't burn easily. It's easy to control. And so does healthy old growth forest, because to the north of us there was a fire burning for like a week. That we tried to control, that finally just went out on its own because a little bit of rain came, and that was an old growth forest, and it was burning very slow, just at ground level. So yeah,
but it was a collective effort, though. And we'd like to say thanks to people like Nicole and to Jill, who were out there lobbying.
Jill Cotter,
calling the BDF, whoever officer in charge. Ensure that we get help back to back, because we had two groups that came one after the other, and then we had, I think, Red Cross started sending juices and water and foods. That's how we overcame it.
Yeah, we had also worked in San Miguel and Silver Creek, helping them with their fires, and in Silver Creek and San Miguel on the boundary, we have a little Kia K2700. I always make a joke that when I buy gas that Bowen and Bowen should pay for it, because they're the only other people going. Sue Harris has helped a lot. And we were running water out there. But Kenton Param and everybody from Nemo, they were fantastic. And my respect for Belize Defense Force was already pretty high, knowing what I know from Wilfredo. But the help that they have and the consistency, they were always showing up. And then, of course, people like Cirilla were showing up with her team of firefighters at every single fire. You kept seeing, and Mario and his crew. Yeah. So it was a terrible event, but it really brought out some of the best of what you see in Belize, and particularly in Toledo. And so a lot of help was given, and a lot of people helped one another, and so we were very, very fortunate.
So it was a record amount of fires this year, like you were saying, right?
We never seen anything like that.
Remind me of the total as compared to the previous years.
So again, when I worked at Toledo Cacao Growers, I'm only paying attention to cacao farms because I was working there, but 1 or 2 farms would get destroyed. But this year, there were 400 farms in Toledo got destroyed, and a lot of them were cacao, and several
400
homes.
farms.
Yeah, over 400.
It's hard to imagine that,
Yeah.
that 400 farms would get
And you
affected by
look
fire.
at all the loss, the labor that was invested, the years that were invested, the time to establish, the future income.
And to reestablish yourself again, to replant.
Well, I'm 58 and we're planting again, but I'm looking for that point where I'm going to go find 2 trees and buy 1 hammock and sit down and, and enjoy the rest of my days. But I hope they don't burn down those 2 trees. Cause, the thing is, there used to be more controls locally, cultural controls and social controls, and those have largely been eroded and disappeared. And then there's you take a look at the Agricultural Fires Act, I think it's called. It's a really well-written, well-crafted set of legislation. The laws are unambiguous, but they're also unenforced. There's no enforcement. And it was one of the problems that we had when I was a cacao grower, is what we called it the fire dance. Oh, my fire burned. Well, go talk to the police. Okay, police don't want to talk to you, so they send you to forestry. Forestry doesn't know what to do with you, so they send you to agriculture. Agriculture sends you back to forestry. My wife is tapping me on the leg. That was 30 years ago or 20-something years ago, so I'm not slamming anybody, and the people I'm slamming are all long retired. Just kidding. But the same thing still stands right now, that we have laws that are unenforced, and they could be enforced, and there needs to be the political will to enforce that coming from the top, and there needs to be bottom-up advocacy. It can't just be, the problem is we have very little advocacy at this last year and very little enforcement. So between the bottom-up advocacy and the enforcement, you have all this room where the bad things happen, to use a polite term.
What role does global warming play in all of this?
Well, this is clearly climate change. We had 2 weeks of temperatures over 100 degrees.
That would cause it, right?
Plus the drought. I mean, the combination of these 2 factors, and there's nothing like it. We were just in Belize City a couple of weeks ago, a week and a half ago, and Belize City was flooded. Now, Belize City floods all the time, but it's raining. This was just coming in.
The tide was rising now,
And we saw that, and we're whole parts of the city were like, we don't want to drive there because we usually drive there, it's easier, but I don't want to put salt water on the bottom of my beautiful little Kia K2700, which I love so much.
Yeah. So what happened this year too is a lot of farmers who did not get burnt lost trees due to drought.
Yeah.
So climate change is very, very, very real. Yeah.
It's real.
We can't ignore it. Yeah.
Is there anything we could do to mitigate the effects of the climate change?
Yes, and this is why there's 2 things: mitigation and adaptation. And so we know that climate change is caused by surplus. What they call fossil carbon, oil and natural gas has been burned and put in the environment. How do we sequester that? Things that sequester that are trees and pyrolysis of biomass, making charcoal and biochar, and then putting that in the soil to build fertility. Both of those can be done on a national scale. What we're doing here on this farm, most of it, the early parts of it, were done with little or no capital. I didn't have any money. I had a lot of labor and work in myself. So we could do that. We could come up with a strategy to get more people planting more trees, and so that's drawing down atmospheric carbon. That's the mitigation.
So the idea is to replant.
Well, to plant long-term tree species of high economic value. The late Henry Fairweather, who is, in my opinion, when they start issuing stamps with Belizeans on it, Henry Fairweather deserves his own stamp.
I agree with that.
And because he was so forward-thinking that after a life of service to the country, when he retired, he started planting trees, and that was a service to the country, and people still don't quite understand what a service he was talking about. But he said at one point, Belize could be the OPEC of mahogany. We could set it up now. And it's one of these things, like he did it after he retired. He was in his 60s or 70s, and Yeah, I'm sure you knew him. Yeah.
But go ahead.
So he did that, and knowing very well that he was not going to be around to enjoy that, but he did it for love of country. He did it for his children and his grandchildren, and we need more of that. We need more of that thinking. A good friend of mine, the chairman of Toledo Cacao Growers, and after I was working there, and we had nurseries established in the villages to grow after Hurricane Iris, to replant trees, and we were given, he had a pump that was supposed to do an irrigated soybean project, but he didn't really care about the soybeans. He did it anyway, and he raised the soybeans and chili peppers and whatnot. And I find him one day, and he's watering mahogany trees. I said, Mr. Pablo, you're 65. You planning to stick around long enough to... He said, no. He said, I'm planting, this is for my children and their children and for people that maybe won't even know my name. But I've got some work left in this body and nothing better to do today. So today I'm watering my mahogany trees. You know those movies like E.T., you're supposed to cry and go, E.T., go home, Yeah. Well, that hit me in the receptor spot. I had was to look away before I just burst into tears, because the man said what I consider to be one of the most beautiful things somebody could say is, I want to care for the future. And so people like the late Mr. Henry Fairweather and late Mr. Pablo Cal, we need to pay attention. Now, all of us are just here for a little while. Here is going to be here after we're gone. Yeah. And so how do we make where we are a better place? And one of the ways you do that is you build transgenerational wealth and national wealth by establishing trees, by maintaining ecosystem services. Trees keep waters from running dry in the dry season. They hold water in the landscape. They create habitat for animals. They provide multiple other yields that are important. Like our farm, we're sequestering carbon, we're retaining soil and soil moisture, we're providing habitat. We see all kind of birds here. We've seen jaguar, ocelot, puma, margay, jaguarundi. We've seen ocelot. We've seen brocket deer, peccary and wari, gibnut. We see all of those animals here. Walking through our farm as if this was forest. So, but yet it's a highly productive agricultural model. At the same time, we're providing those ecosystem services. While we're doing that, we're getting food, fiber, fodder, fuel, marketable crops, medicinal crops in agroecology that once about year 15, the energy required to maintain it drops off to very little. You just have to clean underneath it. It's the early years, pioneer species, things like banana, plantain, pigeon pea, pineapple, those take work, but you get a yield from the beginning. But instead of trying to fight and create a static condition, you work to change that and to manage the succession to what we're looking at out there.
So you live off the land, that's what you're saying too?
Well, yeah, right? I mean,
Besides replanting and reforesting, you get everything from the land that you need to live by. So you don't have another source of income, right? Do you?
No, we have other sources of income. I mean, the thing is, we do solar work, we do land work, we do teaching. We sell some of our
processed products like yellow ginger, and we sell cassava, cacao, limes, vanilla.
But all grown
and we all yes, all grown here, and we do a lot of training also. We do a lot of educational. Yes.
So you share the knowledge.
Yes, we do. We certainly do.
In our final segment, the Nisbets gave us more details on the Maya Mountain Research Farm that they referred to as a living classroom. We will look back at those comments after this break to hear from our partners, Seafront Inn, Del Martin, National Institute of Culture and History, and the Barry.
Seafront Inn welcomes you to Punta Gorda. Overlooking the beautiful Caribbean Sea, Seafront Inn offers visitors a relaxing blend of comfort and local charm. Our rooms are spacious and fully air-conditioned, with several amenities including refrigerator, microwave, TV, and more. Clive's Restaurant is located on the 3rd floor and offers a wide variety of delicious food. We can also host your special events. So when you need to get away for business or pleasure, enjoy the atmosphere at Seafront Inn, offering the best of Southern hospitality.
Welcome to the digital era, the Institute of Archaeology's online ticketing system. Purchasing your park tickets just got easier. Here's how you can use our quick and easy online platform for your next adventure. Go to nichebelize.org and select Purchase Park Tickets. Scroll through our 13 available archaeological reserves and select your ticket type, age, and date of your next adventure. Make sure to read up on the amenities available on site. Then, press Purchase Site Ticket. View your cart and fill in your billing information, and the rest is easy. Pay through your preferred method and place your order. Be sure to check your email for your tickets. Now you're set. Visit any of the 13 sites with ease. For more information, call us at 822-2106 or email us at revenueassistant@nichebelize.org. This message was brought to you by the Institute of Archaeology Niche, preserving the past for the future.
Debari is your one-stop store of choice. We have an array of electronics and accessories to keep you connected. Your home will be the envy of your friends when you choose from a wide variety of household appliances. We can help you dress the entire family in style and comfort with our selection of clothing and footwear. Visit our store on Albert Street in Belize City, San Pedro, La Isla Bonita, Park Street in Orange Walk Town, Belmopan, and San Ignacio, Santa Elena. Debari, get more, pay less.
Celebration time. It don't matter what part of the jewel they come from. You that you and me that me. But guess what? All are we the one. See what I mean? Jump and shout all over the nation.
Business name is Maya Mountain Research Farm. Maya Mountain Research Farm. And you know, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to write on your blackboard, MMRF welcomes Love FM, right? Thank you for making us feel welcome. You know, they're big on the blackboard that we are welcome here. You know, and I'm very much impressed, and I want to say thank you so much for that. Maya Mountain Research Farm. Let's go a bit. We're talking about research and the importance of reforesting and what have you, but let's go a bit more deeper as to what Maya Mountain Research Farm is all about.
So when I left Toledo, I worked from 1997 to 2004 at Toledo Cacao Growers Association. One of the things that we found that we could bring in Dr. Ramirez from Cartier, and he'd give a classroom presentation on the chalkboard, and information transfer wasn't good. That pedagogy did not work for farmers because many farmers didn't do much schooling. So that tradition of having somebody put wisdom on a chalkboard and scribe-like recording the wisdom didn't work for them. Additionally, there would always be somebody in the back, some young guy doing this, like defensive body language. Say, okay, Dr. Ramirez, that's great. How much cacao do you have? At which point he'd be like, well, I don't actually have any cacao, but I did my PhD research on Nobody, after that, nobody's listening again. And everything he said that was valid just got devalued. So what we found was we could give the same information visiting farms like the late Mr. Saul Garcia, who's got a beautiful farm about a half mile down the river from us, that Dr. Ramirez would like to give, that we could give it there, and that they could look, and the farmers, people say, oh, farmers who can't read are illiterate, but this is not true. They're very literate, and their literacy is maybe not reading or writing, but their plant literacy is very high, their soil literacy is very high, their systems literacy is very high, their weather and cycle literacy is very high. And so we can take farmers that would not get it from Dr. Ramirez to the late Mr. Saul's farm, and get that information transferred to them quite easily. So when I left, I saw a need or a niche that where we could establish where we could create a living classroom and train farmers and bring school students here. We did a 1-year course with Tumulkian Center of Learning in 2014-2015 school year, and we've had students from all over the country come here. We've had farmers groups, farmers from Halakde and different villages. And the idea that we had was we'd set up something whereby what we're talking about, people can see it in the flesh. They can walk underneath it. They can pick up the coconuts and carry it to the kitchen for us and help us collect pineapple and plant pineapple. We used to have international students. We stopped that during the pandemic and haven't reopened that program. We were thinking maybe next year. But right now we're busy. We're focusing on what we're doing and the free of the distraction of having to tend to people. So that was basically the foundation. And we also deal with things like energy poverty. We built the water system in Medina Bank, working in collaboration with Yakshe Conservation Trust. We built school systems, lighting systems. We built a water system for Agokate village, which has been replaced with the grid system. They found a well that was a little better and met their needs. So that's part of our area is primarily on how do we train people and to do agroforestry and to do multi-strat agroforestry systems that provide these multiple yields, and also to deal with the issue of energy poverty, places in the country that are not served by the national grid with electricity. So that's in a
you're identifying needs in Belize,
yes,
and doing your best to try and assist us in meeting those needs. Right? Well, you're a part of Belize. So.
Yes. Well, and also, so a lot of these were my own needs. Like I moved up here. Colombia didn't have electricity, and the whole village was dead at about 8 o'clock at night. And then I lived up here, and I didn't have electricity, and then. And I wanted electricity, and then the grid came to Colombia, and I was like, great. And I went to talk to one of the guys at BEL about it, and said, yeah. And they said, yeah, we can run lines to your house. Where are you? I told them the distance. Oh, yeah, it's only going to be about $275,000. And I was like, okay. So the price of solar was expensive. It wasn't that expensive. And two things happened. Number one, the price of solar started to drop at about the same time I started to be able to learn how to make some money. And so I started to invest my salary into doing solar. And then my big break, Will Mejia, who was the first director of Tide, contacted me to build a photovoltaic system out at Abalone Key, and then one out at Paynes Creek, and then that became a job. That's how we make money, and so that's one of our off-farm income sources, and primarily working in protected areas. We don't do houses. We do houses, but mostly like 1 or 2 panel small DC lighting systems for people who live in the village. This is just to do lights. We do big systems out on the Keys and for working for NGOs like Tide and TASA.
Now, with all that you do in Belize, do you visit New York? Do you get any chance to visit New York?
Not anymore. I used to go every year or two, and I haven't been there in, I think, we're there. No, we didn't even go to New York. We haven't been there in about 8 years. But I'd like to go back to visit just to see the place and eat pizza by the slice and,
Also to visit family, to visit his folks, his parents, or if we're on the way to IPCs. Which you could expand a little bit about. He represents Belize globally. So IPC is called International Permaculture Conferences, and they always get him as a speaker. So he's always talking about the beauty of Belize and all the agroforestry, the richness of the jewel and all that. He represents Belize. We've done it in India. We've done it in London. I think we're going to do it this year in Taiwan.
You're from Cuba. We went to Cuba.
And we did it in Cuba. Yeah. So maybe you could talk a little bit about what you're going to talk about in Taiwan.
So right now I'm going to talk about the host of problems the developing world has. On the one side, you have degraded land that's getting degraded. You have agricultural models that are utterly dependent on export and require inputs from abroad to maintain. You have rapidly expanding youth populations and high levels of chronic unemployment. This applies to Belize, but applies to every country in the developing world right now. And on the other hand, you have and plus climate change. And what matches that? What beats that on every level? How do we stop rural to urban migration? How do we stop people from leaving the villages to go look for a better job or in the city or in tourism? And I'm not going to slam tourism, because tourism has been good to Belize in some ways, but tourism is a very fragile market. And it's utterly dependent on external countries having disposable income to make it worthwhile. If there's a hiccup in the United States, like the housing bubble burst in 2008, all of a sudden there's no people aren't traveling anymore, or the pandemic, or before that there was the Y2K, and there was the tech.com bust, and that, and so if we're utterly dependent on external economies as the engine of prosperity for Belize, we are very vulnerable to external shocks. And so what do we have in Belize? We still have lots of land. What do we have in Belize? We still have young people. The problem is we undervalue agriculture, we underpromote agriculture, and the agriculture is promoted primarily for export. The best land in Belize is going to citrus and banana, and in the north is for sugarcane. And how much does that earn? A lot. I mean, sugarcane alone. I'm not going to slam sugarcane, but the bagasse from sugarcane, if pyrolyzed to make biochar, pyrolysis is the combustion of something in an oxygen-depleted environment, off-gases everything but the carbon. Biochar is worth $250 to $800 US a ton. That's more than sugar's worth. Wow. But instead, we're taking the bagasse and we're just burning it to co-generate electricity, which is also, that's better than letting it rot.
Letting it rot, yeah.
Right.
First it was rotting.
Yeah, that's better than letting it rot. But we could tweak our burners. BEL could tweak their burners, find somebody who knows how to do this. My friend Albert Bates knows how to do this. And convert all that bagasse into biochar, get carbon credits for it, used as a soil amendment. One ton of inoculated biochar retains 30 tons of soil moisture, which is going to be important if we start to get droughts. If what happened last year is not just this weird fringe anomaly, if this is the new normal, how do we retain moisture in landscapes? Biochar has the capacity to take all agricultural waste. That could be corn stover, rice hulls, coconut husk, which Silkgrass Farms is doing that with leftover coconut husks and shells. We could do it with all the rice from all the rice mills in Belize. We could be doing that with cacao pods, sawdust from every sawmill. All of that can be pyrolyzed. The resulting carbon is like charcoal, but it's not charcoal. It's just pure carbon, because when you pyrolyze it at certain heats, all the oils, all the other things that are not carbon are burned, are volatilized. Biochar itself is a great soil amendment. Oh, you test it. Oh, this biochar has cadmium in it. It's a heavy metal that's potentially toxic. So you take that and you mix it with cement. It makes your cement 20% stronger. So my friend Albert Bates and a woman named Kathleen Draper, who I don't know personally, but we've written, wrote a great book called Burn, and it's a really good book and explains a lot of this. This could be totally applied to the economy in Belize. What you need to make something happen in Belize, as we all know, is the political will to make it happen. To get the political will, it has to be financially beneficial for the country. And this would be more than financially beneficial to the country. It would earn us carbon credits. It would give us yields and things that we can do. We could put it into the built environment. It would create anti-fragile models of agricultural production. And that's what we need to do now, because we are at this window of time. Like everybody's saying, oh, climate change is off in the future. Well, we never had 2 weeks in a row with temperatures over 100 degrees. We never had 5 months of no rain. We never had the tide came in and it just no one go back out. Climate change is beginning, and it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. This is not maybe. This is for sure. All the projections show what's coming is going to be very, very hard. So how do we make ourselves less vulnerable to that. And that's the thing that can be done, but it needs political will. And to do that, it's not just political will. Again, the government wants it. You have to have education and advocacy at the bottom. That's part of why I like working with Tide and TASA and Yakshe. They use existing laws and structures, particularly let's look more at the marine environment. There are fishing laws, and the fish certainty is built into those laws. And part of that is laws and legislation and management. On the bottom up, there's education and advocacy. Both Tide and TASA do outstanding job of working with fisher folk to explain to them the long-term benefits. Now, because I'm working out in these marine protected areas doing solar work, I see the interaction between the fishermen and the rangers, and generally speaking, it's very positive. And so that's what we need. We need to start building that into the national discussion about how do we deal with climate change. And one of the ways we could do it is to get lots and lots of trees planted and stop deforestation and manage our protected areas well. One of the things the arguments that people say that trees alone aren't going to solve climate change, and this is true, because if you have just a protected area of just trees, there's no vested interest to maintain it. But if you have a multi-strata agroforestry system like this, there's an interest in maintaining it because, well, I'm going to get my kaimito, and then I'm going to get my cacao, I'm going to get my coffee and coconut and my breadfruit and my bread nut and my jackfruit, and in the future I got my samwood and my cedar and my mahogany, and I got my guanacaste. And this could be done very easily in Belize because we have a small country. We have a high level of literacy in this country, and because it's a small country, the degrees of connectedness between any two people is like maybe 1 degree or 2 degrees of connectedness. Like I don't know you, but I know somebody who knows you. Yeah. And in fact, actually, I probably know your cousin. So that's the benefit of living in a small country. So how do we leverage what we have, these advantages, these social and cultural advantages we have to create these better outcomes?
We signed on to the Blue Bonds, right?
Yes.
And the Blue Bonds obviously calls for conservation in the marine industry and on the whole. And what we're talking about is very much in line with what the Blue Bond calls for. How can we meet the targets of the blue economy?
Well, one of the things is not to divorce upland land activities from the blue economy. What are the major detriments to the blue economy? They all tend to be upland land activities. Improper garbage disposal, agricultural runoff, siltation and erosion, accumulation of biocides, whether herbicide, insecticide, or fungicide, in our waterways that end up on the reef and kill the reef. How do we do that? So one of the things that we can do is talk about this is how do we tie upland land use and make people upland care instead of say I don't want to go throw people sometimes throw their garbage in the river and they don't care, just flush, it's gone, and they're not thinking where it's going to end, and it ends up in the ocean, ends up in the fish, and it ends up damaging the reef, and so getting more education, saying, hey, if you really like eat your snapper, well, you better stop throwing your garbage in the river. Yeah,
exactly. And like you said earlier, you need a massive education campaign for that.
Yes, you do.
It has to be continuous.
It has to be continuous.
It can't just be
consistent.
Yeah, there has to be some consistency that what we do on the land affects what happens out in the
and that's part of both the bottom top-down in legislation and education and bottom-up advocacy and education, so that people understand that everybody in Belize is a vested stakeholder in the blue economy. If you like eating snapper, I eat fish. I'm a pescatarian. I eat fish. I like,
Me too. I love fish.
Yeah, I love my fish. So when I go work on the quay, and then they show up with like chicken, and I'm like, man, I don't eat chicken. I'm in the ocean. I could eat chicken at home if I want to eat chicken. But how do we get people to understand that everybody, our actions up here have effects downstream.
Yeah, we're all connected, you know. We're all connected. I'm not disconnected from a fish or from a turtle.
Yeah.
My actions has ripple effects.
Yes.
Yes. This is the connect.
For example, we are now on the Columbia River, but the Columbia River is a part of the Rio Grande system, like you said. It flows into the Rio Grande, and then the Rio Grande flows out into Port Honduras. And so everything that you throw a piece of paper here or some silt in the river here, more than likely it will end up floating out into the middle of Port Honduras. You know, so it's that sort of thing, that all our rivers flow from inland to the sea. And so when we pollute our rivers, then we are in fact transmitting all those pollutants out to sea and will affect what's in the sea.
Or even when we just clear land and we get siltation and that has negative downstream effects.
Exactly.
Maybe it doesn't reach the reef, but it reaches the mangrove, and it disturbs the mangrove habitat, which is important spawning site for fish. So to get more education about that, because I think a lot of people that are not involved in the ocean directly don't see the importance of the blue bond and the blue economy. But we need a little bit of education.
Paul, you've been listening to all of this.
Well, Chief, I sit here admiring this couple, Chris and Selene, and they speak about the love of the rainforests and living here and living happily. But I could recall some years ago, I didn't know much about Chris. I didn't know Selene at all, and this gentleman came to ask me to be master of ceremonies at his wedding, and it will be in Colombia. So I thought I was going to a community center, or maybe a recreational center, or maybe a resort, a big building. When I came, it was right here on this property in the rainforest in the middle of it. Yeah. And I could recall a wonderful wedding. The guests who came from PG and other parts of the country, and the people here, we had a lovely time. I cannot remember the type of music, but I can remember no boombox and things like that. But the food was natural, so I sit here beside them and I recall that my experience with them in the rainforest and how memorable and enjoyable and loving it was.
That's great. So if you had to do it all over again, what would you do?
Like this life?
Yes.
The life.
The life.
I don't think I would change much. You know, I would have started planting more trees earlier. I spent the first 3 years just basically looking and observing, and worried I would make mistakes. So I would start planting more trees, and I would have planted more trees the whole time. I should have been busier than I was. And then,
Address her. Tell her how good that was.
And then, of course, the truth of the matter is, I turned 44 alone in a restaurant waiting for the French film crew that missed their flight. I'm turning 44. I'm lonely. I'm having a hard time running the farm by myself. And I got down on my knees when I got back to the hotel, and I prayed to God. I said, please, I'm having a really hard time running this farm and my life alone. Help me find a partner. And then, a week later, I met Selene, and so I'm just very grateful for that. Yeah.
Selene, I know we have to think about leaving, but I'm so sad that I have to leave because we need to know more about you, and I will come back though.
Please do.
But Selene, let's hear from you.
Yes, but indeed, I'm very blessed too. And when he looks into my eyes, it makes me want to cry. So I'm not gonna look too much.
Okay. You see, that's a love story in the jungle. Now, is there any issue on your mind before I leave that you would like to bring out? I think we didn't touch on the ICP a whole lot.
So we were hoping to get scholarships for a lot of Belizeans to attend the International Permaculture Conference in Taiwan. It's going to be in Taiwan this year. We've been invited as speakers, so we're on our way, hopefully. And we've had over 175 Belizeans graduate from our permaculture design courses. We weren't able to get funding for anybody, sadly, not even for ourselves. So we're working towards that. But we're going to be going to Taiwan to participate in this conference and talk a little bit about our work, and also listen to and represent Belize, and also listen to all the amazing people doing amazing work across the globe. It's a really big event for us, and it happens every 2 or 3 years, and we haven't had one since 2017 because of the pandemic.
That was held in Argentina.
Yeah, and
every 2 years they host it in another country.
In 2021.
It's a beautiful event. We come back energized and motivated to continue doing the good work that we do.
Because, during the pandemic, I'm sure you had enough to eat because you had the land. So while folks in the metropolitan areas were, okay, where do I find food? You had enough food. You just go in your backyard and it's there.
Indeed. Indeed. During the pandemic, I think we really fell in love with each other because we became like Adam and Eve here.
Yeah, it was like basically like that movie Blue Lagoon with Brooke Shields, except for in our aging bodies, walking around naked, clothing optional days, truthfully, the pandemic was a tragedy. I mean, I think 600 people lost their life in Belize, and it was a very sad thing. And including friends of ours. Our godfather who sat next to us at the wedding, he died of it, and it was very, very sad to us.
It was sad.
Yeah,
it was sad.
But for us, because we were up here, we had lots of room to walk around. We had plenty of things to do. We didn't have, and then we found out that we really liked each other. Before that, we'd always have like students down here, and we live in a fishbowl. We're up there, and there's students down here, and left to our own devices, we got along pretty well.
Well, obviously, being here, Paul, we can sense the love that these two people have for each other, Chris and Selene, and the love that they have shown to us by giving us this cup of cacao, and I understand they have something for us to eat after we finish here, and so on. So, we want to thank you so much for the warm hospitality you have afforded us. Paul, before we leave, anything from you?
Well, Chief, I just want to echo words of gratitude from my heart, and on behalf of the team, Ms. Alpha, Jean Sosa, and our cameraman, Paul Mornings, and yourself, Chief, because I've asked me a few weeks ago, over a month ago, about your coming here, and I thought about Chris and Selene, and they were very receptive from the first time. Of course, the trip had to be postponed because of inclement weather, and even today it was challenging, but we came through, and we're here. This is a reality, and I'm glad they are both willing to share what they have, not only to the nation of Belize, but to the world, because this is a unique place in Belize and in southern Belize and in the tropical rainforest.
Maya Mountain Research Farm. Yes. A quick 1-minute word from each of you.
A blessing to Belize, and just like to extend a warm welcome to all Belizeans. You're always welcome to come and visit and come share a cup of cacao with us.
Right. Mr. Lenny, thank you so much, Mr. Lenny. Chris?
Well, Renee, I'd like to thank you and your dedicated crew for coming all this way out here and the challenges of coming up the river. And I hope you...
It was challenging.
It was. And so I really appreciate, because I know what it is to come up that river, and so I really appreciate that you took the time. And so I'm sitting next to a Belizean icon. Every single hurricane that your voice we listen to, find out what we should do. And so I've got you sitting next to me. That's a big honor for us. So I'm very much appreciated. Renee and Paul.
Thanks, Chris, for everything, Lenny, thank you so much, Mr. Lenny. Belize and beyond, thanks for choosing love.
Shine.